Mob mentality, social influence, they are all very dangerous. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name's StepsBasic, and welcome back to my community show. Anyway, so announcements for today. Pretty sure I'm getting closer to the end of Black Mesa. I don't really want to rush it. I'm kind of enjoying myself with it. You know, I just recorded episode 12 last night. That was a pretty hectic episode, I gotta say. Pretty exciting, and I just love the environmental storytelling. You know, as things are developing. I don't want to get into too much of it because, you know, spoilers and whatnot for episode 12. But if you've seen it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The end of surface tension. But it's really cool. And after that, I am going to be going on to Doom Eternal. If it runs smoothly. I'm a little worried about it because it is a fairly powerful game, and I literally had to upgrade my PC just to run it. So we'll see. I'll at least record one episode of it and see how it goes. And apart from that, yeah, that's pretty cool. That's all the announcements I got for today. So on to the topic, internet influence. When I say that, I'm not talking about internet influencers. Which, while I'm not a big fan of, you know, the whole idea of it, I do kind of, you know, hey, do your hustle. Get your thing. Get your money. And if people are willing to pay for it, you do it, as long as you're not hurting anybody. This is my usual take on most things. As long as it doesn't hurt anybody, I don't really care. So, what do I mean when I mean internet influence? Well, much like opinions and much like nuance, there is a difference to what the internet will influence you to. Now, of course, internet influence is the same as social influence. And so when I say internet influence, I'm referring to social influence. I'm referring to social media and how people have their opinions influenced by other people, i.e. political statements, religious, movies, games. We're mostly going to be focusing on games and stuff because that's what I do here. And, of course, this whole series that I've been working on between opinions, nuance, and this episode today has been based around the controversy that came up around The Last of Us 2. Specifically, people acting dumb. The thing is, most people have an opinion, whether it's for it or against it, for or against something. Everybody's got an opinion about it. More often than not, their opinion does not go to the extreme of, oh my God, this is the worst thing ever. But social influence, internet influence, mob mentality generally amps us up to the point where we often forget what our original opinion was to begin with. Confessions. I have a dirty secret. I have a guilty pleasure, as it were. I love commentary channels. Specifically, I look a lot on the political side. I watch a lot of political commentary videos. Shut up, phone. I watch a lot of political commentary videos. And this is like the perfect example. And it's also a good example of why I never talk about politics. Is because it doesn't matter whose side you're on. It's always a matter of you either agree with me or you're wrong. And a lot of times it's very simple. You know, keep your own opinions. Don't let other people influence your opinions. It's a very easy thing to say. But then you say something so controversial yet so true, like pineapple's good on pizza. And all of a sudden you have about a dozen or so people you've never met before telling you how you're wrong, you're horrible, and you need to kill yourself. That's an internet influence. Now, the fun part is, when you actually look at those people's opinions, is they might not feel strongly against pineapple on pizza. They might just think, that's weird, I'm not going to try it. Now, of course, this goes back to my other opinion about opinions, i.e. if you've never tried it, you can't have an opinion on it. You can have the opinion of, it sounds weird, it's an odd idea, but if you don't experience it, then you can't really have an opinion on it. Know what I mean? And the pineapple on pizza debate, as it were, is an internet joke by now. And the thing of it is it really demonstrates a good example of why internet influence is a bad thing. Now, granted, the pineapple on pizza thing is a joke. I don't think anyone is very serious about it when they talk about it, when they get aggressive about it. But it shows so much about how the internet can influence your opinion, even if it is agreeing with you. The word moist. Shut up, phone. The word moist is not a bad word. It's not a dirty word. It just means slightly wet. But the internet has convinced millions of people that this is a naughty word, that it is a gross word, that just hearing it makes them feel gross. Now, I never considered that this was a bad word or an unappealing word until I watched the show Dead Like Me, which is the first time I ever heard of somebody not liking the word moist, which was, the main character's mom didn't like the word moist. And I've always been puzzled as to why that people have such a visceral reaction to it. And honestly, it comes from social influence. Somebody says, "Oh, I don't like that word." Their friend agrees. Another friend agrees with that. And then it piles up until everyone agrees. And then it takes the natural approach of where opinions go. If you don't agree with me, you're wrong, ignoring completely the nuance of the situation. Pineapple on pizza is fine. If you don't like it, don't eat it. Most people would agree with that. People will also yell and scream about how if you like pineapple on pizza, then you're a monster. I, for one, like the acidic taste to pineapple. I've heard recently somebody say that they thought the idea of sweet on pizza is dumb, and I completely challenged their notion in that I don't think pineapple is sweet. I think it is sour. I also think that pineapple complements the meat and the sauce. Acidity with the tomato complements. But, that's my opinion. And if they don't like pineapple on pizza, that's their prerogative. I'm not going to go and tell them that they're wrong. Because, well, as much as I'm on the internet, I'm not an internet influencer. Except, of course, in the whole influence people to think for themselves. And I think that a lot of this comes down to what has happened around The Last of Us. The Last of Us Part 2. And you can tell me all day long that it's because Naughty Dog betrayed you or because a bunch of neckbeards online are just complaining that things aren't the way they used to be. You can tell me all day long that if you want to. And I stand firm in my resolution that, well, first of all, I can't have an opinion on the game until I played it. And second of all, the artist has to create the art that they want to make. Otherwise, it's not going to be good. Forcing somebody to make the story you want is not going to come out right. Second of all, people might actually have a valid complaint about the game. There might be problems with the game. There might be problems with the story. There might be problems with the characters. And just because the internet says that you either have to love it or you have to hate it, depending on which side you fall on, is not true. It's a lie. But the internet influenced so many people into thinking that just because such and such follows certain ideologies, and that goes for both sides, I don't care which side you're on, if you immediately jump to extreme visceral reaction, you're following an ideological path, and that's wrong. The internet has influenced so many people into siding on polar extremes of this game. And it was the same with Captain Marvel. It was the same with Black Panther. It was the same with Ghostbusters 2016. You either had to love it or you had to hate it. You had to be on the right side of history, as it were, ignoring completely the nuance of things. Because of the simple fact that the mob rules. Socially influenced opinions. Among those groups of people, I'm pretty sure that there are some who just like the game. There are some who just didn't like the game. There are some who, as I said in the last video, probably didn't even play the game. And therein lies the problem, because if they just had a mild opinion about the game, they are forced to jump into the side that they were most likely to join, most agreed with. Because you can't just barely like it, or you can't just barely dislike it. You have to absolutely hate it. You have to absolutely love it. Otherwise, you're wrong. And oftentimes, it goes a different way, too. I thought this game was all right. Income person who hates it, telling you about all the things that you are wrong about and how everything is just terrible and the game is just terrible. You suddenly find yourself having to defend even the parts you didn't like. Therefore, you are jumping into the camp of, I loved it no matter what. This is the problem with internet influence. I actually saw a tweet go by the other day that completely ignored a lot of influence, or nuance, as it were, in that there was somebody tweeted, do you post in short sentences, or do you tweet, or do you text in short sentences, several short sentences, or are you a monster? Now, yes, I'm not ignoring the fact that the person was probably joking, but it's another good example of internet influence. And this is one of the things, I personally text in large blocks. I am a wall of text guy. I've always been a wall of text guy. I hate it. I absolutely hate it when people send me 5 or 6 short messages. And it's not even because what they're saying is bad, but because I'm starting to read the first one, and then all of a sudden, bloop, and my screen shifts, and then bloop, and then my screen shifts, and then bloop, and then my screen shifts, and bloop, and my screen shifts, and I have to go all the way back to the top and start reading again. And I get anxious when that happens. I don't think that the person sending the short messages is a monster. I just personally don't like when that happens. I get anxious, and I have to get frustrated and scroll my screen. Very first world problem, but also not a big deal. And of course, I send a big old block text, and somebody replies with, now I'm overwhelmed, and now you're a horrible person because I have to sit here and read through this giant text that you sent me. Nobody's actually ever said that to me. And in fact, a lot of people say it's kind of nice that you can fully and concisely state your whole stance in one text. It's kind of refreshing. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I prefer sending block texts and receiving block texts, because then I can read it and put all my response in it. Now, of course, that's also not hating on people who send a long message and then forget something and then send another message, and then they have to autocorrect it and all that nonsense. Stupid autocorrect. I shake my fist at thee. Mob mentality, social influence, they are all very dangerous in that they breed extremism, and extremism is bad because there's always shades of gray. And if you ignore them, then the only thing you have is a bunch of people mad at each other for often stupid reasons, like The Last of Us 2. Doesn't matter if you love it, doesn't matter if you hate it, doesn't matter if you thought it was okay. You've got a lot of people mad at each other, sending death threats, sending angry messages, sending hate, simply because they didn't like a game. And I love my stories, but that is not the right way to respond. Well, that was dad face for the day. But anyway, that's going to be it for me for today. I think that might be the end of my opinion series. It was only 3 episodes long. Opinion, nuance, and internet influence. But if I think of anything else that'll go with it, I will make another video. But for now, that's going to be it for this series of videos. I have another series planned in critiquing different genre of YouTube, and that'll be fun. Not hating on anybody, I promise, but pointing out flaws and benefits to them. But anyway, like I said, that's it for me for today. Thank you all so much for joining me for this episode of The Community Show. Hopefully you enjoyed it. And if you did, please go poke that like button for me. If you'd like to see more from me, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And of course, as always, you are more than welcome to leave a comment in the comment section down below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And when I can, if I can, you know all that jazz. And tune in next time for another episode, another time. And until then, good night.